So this video was supposed to come out 5 days ago, but my dog chewed up my Wi-Fi box and that left me without internet for a couple days, which put a little dent in my upload schedule. A little unexpected 5-day break, but nonetheless, we're back to business as usual, and I finally get to finish this video that I never got to wrap up on the current state of Anime Defenders, and why, as it stands, this game is just not as fun to play as it used to be. Back in the day, I used to be super duper pumped to play this game. I would wake up with a smile on my face, ready to, grind out some Evo materials, evolve a new unit that I hadn't tried before, maybe play portals, grind infinites, trade, get rerolls. You name it, I was probably doing it, and I was probably enjoying it. You guys can, really fact check that if you look at my older videos where I would be hyper analyzing the smallest things on this game. I'd have like entire videos dedicated to like individual legendary units and talking about why I like their unique aspects so much, because back then everything was new and fresh, and each update actually provided something of value, something new, something that we hadn't seen in the game before. But with update 5 being the most anticipated update, it really feels like they fell flat and completely missed the mark of what we actually wanted from an update. Now, I will say this, obviously I love the game. I wouldn't have so many videos on my channel dedicated to this game if I didn't like it, but at the same time we have to learn to criticize the things that we love, because how else are they going to improve? So far, the game was actually doing decently well considering past updates, with the portal updates being very well received by the community, and the only fork in the road being the time that they added the exclusive wishes, cough coughs 5.7 years. Besides that, it was pretty smooth sailing. Now, with update 5 being in the works for well over a month, or a little bit under a month, I don't know, it was a long time, a lot of people had big expectations. And I will say the update did add a lot of content, it just wasn't content that you were allowed to play. Because this update was basically just a re-release of the original game with slightly different units and new maps, with a monetization system that heavily encouraged you to just buy the currency so you could get the new units. And, understandably, this turned a lot of people off from the game, including myself. I felt as if my progress really didn't mean anything in the new update, and grinding out a bunch of new story modes, new Evo materials, and new currencies just to get a couple new units really didn't seem that enticing to me, at least nowhere near as much as it used to be. And that's really the reason that I'm making this video. As of update 5, I really am just losing my passion to play this game and play it as often as I do. I find myself just enjoying different tower defense games a lot more. And I know I'm not alone on that sentiment, because half my comments are talking about how glad they switched to ALS and how ALS is the new way, and they just love playing that game so much. And although I do enjoy that game, it'll never replicate the same feeling that Anime Defenders had in its prime, back in update 2 or update 1, I forgot. When was it when they added the first limited banner? Back then when the game was popping and everything was new and fresh, like you can't lie, everybody was on that. And although there is a case to be made, oh well, there was a lot of alt accounts, they had an alt problem. Although that is true, I don't think there was 200,000 alt accounts, Even if you remove the alts, I still easily think that Anime Defenders is the biggest tower defense game, just in terms of sheer player count. But that's not what we're going to talk about. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of competition out there for Anime Defenders, and they need to get with the times or else they might get left behind. What do I mean by this? Well, first of all, the game just feels incredibly slow to play. And that just might be me talking because I'm used to having 3 times speed on Anime Last Stand, or insert extra speed game pass on most other tower defense games. And coming back to Anime Defenders and having to play the game in its original speed, I might seem like I'm asking for a lot here, but it just feels like such a slog. Having to grind out 6 new story mode maps really made me just so burnt out on the game. And it really isn't the same as I remembered it. It wasn't as fun as it used to be. It didn't feel as rewarding as it used to be. And most importantly, I just didn't enjoy it as much as I used to. The current state of this game just feels like a chore. It doesn't feel like you're playing a game anymore, it just feels like you're going through a checklist of things that you have to do in order to actually have fun. Because the new units, specifically the new secret units, are pretty much unobtainable for the average player unless you're willing to shell out the big bucks in order to buy the new currency. You're probably not going to get the new unit anytime soon. Why? Because as it stands, there is no secret pity. Now, I did hear some people say that there is a pity, it's just hidden and you can't see it, but whether it's there or it's not, I don't really see that making people any much happier. I don't see that making me any more excited to play the game. And besides the new units being nigh unobtainable, specifically the secret ones, I just don't feel like the game's adding any super unique or cool gimmicks to differentiate themselves from the rest of the anime tower defense space. I will say, this game is, in terms of pure quality alone, it's up there with Anime Adventures. There really is no other game on the platform that replicates how well made Anime Defenders is, but it takes a lot more than eye candy to make a game fun. You know, you can have pretty colors and that'll attract players to an extent, but eventually people are going to get bored of the same cool flashy colors if the actual content of the game isn't really up to par. Now, that's just my personal take on why the current state of this game just isn't fun, and I don't find myself playing it as much as I used to. I do still play anime tower defense games, obviously I still enjoy them, because I don't think I'll ever stop enjoying that type of game, but Anime Defenders specifically, I'm really falling out of love with, and, you know, besides recording the game for content, I find myself never touching the game. It just sits in my recently played until I have to record another video, because I don't know, my passion for making games on making videos on this game just slowly dwindles out with each passing update. Obviously, this doesn't mean that the game's gonna die or that the game has unfixable problems. There are plenty of community suggestions that shed light on a lot of the concerns this update had. For example, I'll put the screenshot up on the video right now of this guy who I think perfectly encapsulated 99% of the concerns with this game. I agree with everything besides the unit models, because you can't really blame the devs for having models that aren't accurate to the anime when the whole point of an anime tower defense game is to not get copyrighted. Like, you know, sure, you want to have your cool anime tower defense units, but, you know, what's the point of having a game that lasts for like a year and then it gets copyright striked and then you lose all your progress? I'm fine with the current model and how things are, where they tweak units to make them look different so they can claim them as original characters and the game doesn't get taken down. I honestly don't mind that. And that's the only concern that I don't agree with, though. Everything else, they really hit the nail on the head with that. Secret units just feel like they're mandatory. Mythic units feel like an afterthought. The black marketing scene and inflation completely ruined the entirety of trading in that game, and it basically just turned into a, you know, pay 3 kidneys to get a single unit or black market, right? And no one wants to black market because obviously that's against the rules. No one wants to do that. No one wants to break TOS. No one wants to go get scammed by some random black marketer. It's just a whole headache that shouldn't even be in the game in the first place. Now, do I think the devs can just snap their fingers and fix the BMing problem? Obviously not. But I really think that's going to wrap up my video on the current state of Anime Defenders. I've really said all that I have to say. Will I keep covering this game? Probably. You know, as long as there's still content to cover and there's still an audience for it. Obviously, I'm going to keep covering the game, but expect content from different tower defense games from now on. I'm not really going to be doing Anime Defenders as exclusively as I did before, solely on the fact that I'm getting a little burnt out of covering the same game over and over and over again ad nauseum. I'd like to be able to try out some different anime tower defense games, you know? And to end this video on a positive note, because I feel like we have taken a rather negative approach throughout the whole video, I'll post this screenshot here. In the content creator chat, I sent the same YouTube comment that you guys just saw, and I said, hey, I think this really sheds light on everything that's wrong with this update. And, you know, I didn't expect it to happen, but one of the devs actually saw my message, and he responded with this, which was actually a breath of fresh air. It gave me a little hope that in the coming update this weekend, the game would actually be fun. And it reads as follows. This is great feedback, thank you for sharing. We're going to work on fixing as much as possible this weekend. Funnily enough, we're actually the worst monetizing tower defense out there. As much as people scream that things are pay to win, the $60 unit that guy spent money on in a black market doesn't go to us, and it's very difficult for us to actually combat that. And on the unit models being ugly, I think people just don't realize that it is straight up illegal to use infringe on copyright directly from actual anime. There's a lot of pressure from Roblox internally and anime IP that are coming onto the platform that will end up killing many games for that same reason. I personally think it's worse having a short run with infringing IP rather than having longevity, so we can actually address and fix the issues at hand. So, really, really good PR response. I really, he couldn't have worded it any better. Had to get a drink of water. Throat was dry. Yeah. Great response from Sub. Really makes me hopeful that the game is actually going to succeed and take into account what the community is actually complaining about. Once again, I completely agree on his take about the unit models, because no one wants to get their game taken down, right? We don't want another Anime Adventures. What's the point of putting so much time, effort from not only the player side, but also the developer side, if in a year from now it's just going to get DMCA strike taken down and no one's ever going to be able to play the game again? Although the new unit models, you wouldn't even be able to tell that they're from an anime. Like, at this point, they just might as well name it Cool Character Tower Defense. I really don't mind it. The game is still well made, and it still works as intended. It still serves its purpose as a tower defense game. I'm not really going to be one to complain about models if the quality of the game itself is actually good. It's not like the models look bad. People just aren't used to having models a little bit out of the norm in terms of anime characters. But yeah, Sub's response really makes me happy. It makes me hopeful that in this weekend's update, we might actually get 2x speed. We might get a merchant. We might get easier ways to obtain the new currencies. But I digress. Only time will tell. With all that being said, that's going to be it from me. Thank you for watching this video, and have a great day or night. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and we'll catch you in the next one.